Warning. Hashtag DDP Live is for an adult audience. Hashtag DDP Live may contain material that may be unsuitable for sensitive ears. If you are easily offended, run to your panic room now. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Thank you. Please come again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
Welcome back here, the hashtag DDP Live, the Longbox.FM studios, brought to you, of course, by Riley's Brewing. And, of course, some of new sponsors we got going on. Genzo, which you can do takeout sushi, and Fiat of Fresno if you want to get a car on the cheap, like seriously, $39 a month for a rental for one of those electric cars. We'll get more of our sponsors later on tonight, but we're doing a show, first one this month, but of course it has a huge meaning. We brought in a favorite of our shows from the past, Stoneshiver, who's got a show going on April 28th. We're going to be talking about that. We're also testing out tonight. We're doing our very first virtual reality studio, so you can actually watch this show later on in Oculus Rift and really just be more of us in you in some other way. We like to force ourselves into whatever orifice that you have to enjoy our stuff. Let's get to our guests here tonight. We got 3/4 of the band, and at this point, I'm convinced that James is not a member of the band.
Yeah, well,
You guys have been here 98 times, and he's never been here once.
he really hasn't ever been here once.
He's never been here.
No, he's never stepped foot in the studio.
Only in spirit, though.
He did give you a high five outside Strummers at one time.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was.
Like, this guy just gave me a high five for no reason.
Yeah, who's this guy hanging out with you guys? Is this a younger brother or something? Okay. So, you guys are doing a show, and she said, I guess I'll be doing some little hosting stuff there.
Yeah, hosting the show.
So I'm going to be excited to have him kicked off stage by security because we don't need any of these losers up on. It's just for bands only.
Yep. Sorry, James.
It's like, I've never seen this guy.
It's been a long time coming, man.
I didn't know they had 2 guitar players.
You got your sound tech on the guitar again. Hey, guys, it's showtime. Get off. So anyways, we do have our guys, though. Jesse, I love you, Jesse. Philip and Jocko. Jocko Tuesday, hanging out on a Saturday. And it's a special day because you guys are here for the pre-show being this. And then afterwards, we're getting apparently turned as we're celebrating a joint birthday. My sister-in-law and myself are getting a little cray-cray tonight. So it's been a crazy couple days trying to get this house, the studio, and everything ready. So thank you guys for coming in, setting this all up. Now, we're going to be talking about that show and what's coming up, but let's take it back a notch. Now, something that's been about the show, my old show, and part of the reason that died, and things that I've learned. People have had requests for, they want a good music podcast, none of the dowdy stuff. They want something to actually get into who the bands are, and that's kind of what we're redoing here, is trying to get something unique that gets more in-depth to the bands that we're interviewing. So with you guys, I want to start off, we'll do a little time jump here. Tell us about Stoneshiver.
Wow. Well,
just at the start of Stoneshiver.
Stoneshiver came to be like in 2001, 2002-ish.
Yeah.
Out of another band called Good Habit.
Yeah. We were the three of us were playing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I tell it better, but
Certainly.
the three of us were playing in a band with a couple other frontmen, and we did a lot of 311 covers, and it was kind of a funk rap, heavy rock kind of fusion type thing. And they'll tell you that they just never wrote any more lyrics, and so we got tired of having all these songs written that no one had any music for, so we called up James, who we used to play with, and we said, hey, you want to come in and sit on guitar? And we started writing music together as a 4-piece, and that's kind of how Stoneshiver started.
All right. Now, you guys, as we were doing pre-show, talking, hanging out as we normally do, you guys have pretty much been playing together in some fashion for a decade and a half or more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How deep does does that go? Were you guys childhood friends?
No. I in my freshman year of high school, I played at the talent show, and I played some song I wrote that was not a great song, but it was good for a freshman. And afterwards, James came up to me, and I think he was a senior in high school at the time, and he was like, "Hey man, you ever thought about being in a band?" I was like, "Sure." And so we started jamming out together, and eventually Jocko came into our lives like he does with everyone.
You said the exact same line to you. Hey, you ever thought about being a bass player for a band?
Yeah.
You know, it's really weird. Hold on, that talent show, I was a part
yeah.
of the same talent show, but he went to Selma and I went to Kingsburg. So
Yeah.
I was in a different band at the same talent show with him.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, and that's kind of how we met, too. And then as time went on, Jocko, James, and I played in a band, and eventually that kind of broke up, and me and Phil started jamming out together, and we asked Jocko to come along, and then that kind of fizzled out, and then we said, "Hey, James, come on over," and then the rest is Stoneshiver history.
All right, now, so it sounds like when it comes to you guys, your backgrounds and everything, all around the same age, and I heard Selma and Kingsburg in here. Is that where pretty much you guys are all from?
Except for Jocko.
Yeah, I'm
He
in
has
a
a
little
sordid
town
past.
called Layton. I think that town is older than Selma and Kingsburg put together.
And there's 4 people in that town.
Nearly 1,000.
Nearly 1,000.
Yeah, as per the last census.
Well, you were in Vegas for a long time, too.
Yeah, I did live there most of my high school years.
Didn't you
Eh.
used to play bass at like some casinos and stuff like that?
Just I actually, my first gig as a bass player, it was at a gay bar, of which I did have no knowledge whatsoever. They told me maybe right after the show was over.
You didn't notice during the show?
I noticed there was something iffy going on stage. I mean, on the dance floor. Guys dancing with each other. I'm like, hey, that's cool. That's
Your music is inspiring.
yes. We played mostly top 40, so that
Yeah.
was kind of
Well, and you were wearing sequin
just
shirts
gonna
and
say.
stuff, too, so it fit.
no.
No?
Were you the eccentric bass player?
I was kind of the quiet bass player.
You quiet?
Yes, I am. I was at some point very shy.
What?
Still am.
We're getting to the history of Jocko now.
Yeah.
So what brought you out of your quiet shyness?
So that playing
Cocaine.
gigs, playing more gigs, that kind of broke me out of the shell. I decided, I'm gonna be a bass player for good. I used to be a guitar player, but being a bass player actually turned out to be a better gig for me. And of course, 20-some years after, here I am.
So each of you guys, obviously musicians, and have got your varied histories. But what is, and I don't mean this to sound as lame as it's going to, what is the reason, the starts for why you chose to get involved in music and continue on, obviously, a lifestyle that's been going for a long time?
Mm-hmm.
Man. It's
Jimi
kinda like
Hendrix.
Well, it was Richie Valens, actually.
Oh, my
Richie
bad.
Valens. Really into music. Well, my whole family was music, so I mean that was kind of like a no-brainer. And then Nirvana, as a teenager, obviously just completely changed the world for me.
Jesse?
Yeah, I grew up with my mom's guitar in the corner of our living room, and I had never seen it opened. And so eventually my cousin started learning how to play guitar, and he sold me a little bass, and I started playing on that. It was like a 3/4 scale Gremlin bass. And
Funny how that works out when you turn from bass player to guitarist.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
and then eventually I just got tired of playing bass by myself because I wasn't jamming with anyone, and I picked up my mom's guitar and started playing, and X years later I just told her, hey, look, this is my guitar, I'm taking it, and it's actually old. It's 5 years older than I am, so it's an old guitar, but my family was always musical growing up, and my parents used to go and sing at different churches and do different stuff like that, and so I grew up around a lot of that, and so it was very natural to start doing it for myself. And immediately after learning how to play guitar, I just started writing my own cheap little songs because I didn't have the skill set to learn other people's stuff, and I think that's what really inspired me to keep going, was that I was like, wow, I can actually create something. I don't have to be relegated to what everyone else thinks is cool. if that makes sense.
No.
And it made it way easier for us to start jam together and be in bands because you had original material. You weren't playing, at the time it was Metallica and Blink-182 covers and stuff like that, you know. Most of the bands our age. But
Jocko.
Yeah, that was kind of a similar start for myself. There was this old guitar that my dad had kept that he hardly ever played. And I always thought, well, doesn't this thing supposed to have strings? So, you know, we bought the strings, put them together, and I started kind of just strumming along and messing with it. Of course, I didn't know what I was doing back then. Eventually, I started picking up lessons at my school where I was going, and I'm talking like way back when I was living in Mexico. And I learned a few chords, and I kind of just took off from there. And about 6 years after, that's when I made the switch to being a bass player. But most of my family wasn't really a musician sort of driven family. I had like an uncle that knew how to play the guitar really well, and I always used to watch him and kind of learn from him and picking up like his tricks to, you know, how to come up with stuff. And then from there, I just kind of, you know, took off, and eventually I taught my little brother how to play guitar and kind of did the same thing, except he's actually better than me.
yeah, he's really good.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So before any of this, had any of you guys had an experience being on a stage, being center of attention in some sense?
High school band, or like, you know, being in band, like in grade school and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right.
I guess I don't know if that counts. But.
Yeah, I had a couple solos in like junior high choir. I started playing when summer after my 8th grade year, so going into high school. So I'd had a couple experiences doing stuff like that, but man, those were nerve-wracking. The first time I played at that talent show was the first time I ever performed acoustic, and I was so nervous I had to sit down in a chair in front of the entire school and play the simplest song, you know. But so.
And our schools treated it like it was, we competed against 4 other schools, and we went to each school.
Yeah.
So we had 4 separate shows, like in 2 days or something. So you're playing in front of, that was probably nerve-wracking for him because it was by himself. You know, a couple thousand people at each one.
Yeah, and I'm playing that, and these guys are over here playing Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah.
Like full on, like 4 guitars. And like, I was just like, okay, here's
one
my
question:
F
who
chord.
won that contest, by the way?
Some terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that Corby Yates kid.
He
know
wasn't
Corby Yates,
terrible.
remember him? I know, he wasn't terrible at all. That kid that played the Jimi Hendrix stuff. Yeah, he won the whole deal.
Yeah.
Well, of course, this now leads into Stoneshiver Live. What are the feels for you guys? Can you describe, for those who aren't in a band, who don't get that stage, there is some sickness. There's this thing that you get when you hit that stage, when you hit a mic, when you sit down to do a podcast, you know, any of that type of stuff. There's that feeling going on. And could you put it into words, Jocko?
There's absolutely no words for that. It's just the you get the jitters right before going into stage. And hours before the show, people will come up and say, hey, are you nervous for this show? I'm like, no, not really. I'm sorry. I don't care enough. But I do. And I realized that right before I start hitting the stage. And it's just an incredible feeling every single time that we hit the stage. I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but it's the truth. You know, I really I like the response that we get from the audience when they're listening to me play. And of course, it's not that I put the spotlight on myself. I like the interaction between musicians, that we sort of interconnect our feelings through notes.
Yeah.
So that's what my drive is, really.
Yeah, I notice during certain, like if I know a song's going to be played, I know during parts of songs that are going to stick out to me. And we use some drum samples, and it's called an 808 bass pad, and when I hit it, it's really, really bassy, and it hits people. But when I hit it and I see certain people, like it hits them, because you can feel it. If it's a good sound system, you feel that in your chest, you know? That to me is just like, to me, that's always kind of set us apart, and not to compare us to anyone, but it just makes us a little different. And that's why I've always liked certain parts of the show where I do hit that and kind of catch people off guard. They're just like, what the heck was that? You know?
Makes you feel powerful.
It does.
Like you have control over their vibrations.
It's called empowerment.
Let's go with the control freak over here. What are your feels?
You know, what he was talking about as far as the jitteries and the jitters in your stomach and stuff.
He's talking about me, by the way.
Yeah, I feel the same thing. There's sometimes where I'm so pumped to get up on that stage because I'm just so excited to feel the electricity in the room of and we've been around long enough, and we've got a big enough fan base that, you know, a lot of people know our music and they sing along and they shout at the top of their lungs and they know when the hits are, and you know, and they react to it. So you get to walk in and you get to kind of just be the puppeteer, you know, if you will. Like you get that room. We get to go in there and we get to be in charge of what everyone is experiencing in that moment, and we get to just have fun doing it, and we want everyone to have fun doing it. But it's nerve-wracking because you want to bring your package and present it so everyone has a good time, but you don't know if you're going to, because you don't know how the crowd's going to react.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what I mean? And there's times before shows where I feel like I'm pumped to get up there, and there's other times that I just feel like I want to be anywhere else but walking up on that stage. And people ask me if I'm nervous, and like, you don't get nervous anymore. And I do. You know, the bigger the show, maybe the venue, maybe who we're playing with, maybe whatever it is,
who you know's in the
there's
audience.
There's so many different variables to it. But you know, and it's hard to put all that into words. But I know that when I first started jamming with James, we would play and then we would sit in the back of his little red truck and look up at the stars and imagine what it would be like to be rock stars. You know, and that was, he brings that up every once in a while, and it's the dream. You know what I mean? And the dream changes, and now I think we're more satisfied with where we are now than we were back then.
Yeah, we're
You know
dead
what
rockers.
I mean? Like,
Well,
my kids think I'm a rock star, and that's all that matters.
Right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And
well, you just jumped ahead on me, so we'll do this and then we'll come back because you mentioned the dream and all that. Now, a lot of bands that are coming in. I remember being in bands back in the day, my early 20s, late teens, and yes, the fantasies where you could justify this is a good career path. It is going to work. Your band is that good.
Yeah.
I think every youth has that feeling, and at some point that rug gets pulled out from under you,
Right, yeah.
and you realize, shit, I got to get a job. I got her pregnant. Like whatever life consequence, whatever
Let's
life.
pause on that moment real quick.
Now, whatever life consequence hits you, and just realizing, look, this isn't a gig. This isn't something that's going to work. So the dream goes away, and it becomes more hobby. Now, knowing you guys and your history, you guys have been around. You guys have had a break, and we'll touch back on that in a little bit. But at this point, you guys are all guys with, quote-unquote, real jobs, real lives, kids, families, and all that. So is the band to you anymore? Is the dream totally dead? As far as actually being able to make it somewhere, is it more of a hobby that hopefully you could trip and fall into something more legit? Like that'd be cool if it happened, or is it just shits and giggles? You guys are doing it.
so, you know, with every show that's coming, we try to do something bigger with the intent to like expand in the Stoneshiver universe, you know, and but it doesn't feel like we're trying to prove ourselves anymore. Like we're comfortable with where we're at, and like you said, if we trip into something bigger, then that's cool. But we're not completely relying on tripping. You know, we're still looking at bigger festivals and booking bigger shows. Always looking for the next thing that's going to project us forward. But we all understand that if it's just a hobby for the rest of our lives, then we get one really cool hobby.
Some dads
You know.
golf and some play cool shows.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, you guys have an increasingly tough situation because you have 4 guys who all have lives,
Right.
and every one of you's got a foot in another canoe, you know, or a foot in 2 canoes. So you does it struggle to not be fully in Stoneshiver? Do you guys still have those moments like, God, I wish I you know, the wives can work, and we're just going to go full steam ahead?
No, we've definitely balanced it really, really well because we know the band isn't the number one priority, obviously, like it was when we first started, because we all just had our own deals going on. But no, we've definitely balanced it enough to where when we do get itchy, usually there's something around the corner that's coming up, so we don't have to worry about, you know, having that angst about having to not be able to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we've been pretty lucky having the flexibility to actually still do this on our spare time and manage our families and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been pretty seamless, if you say.
It's been really busy the past 3 months, though, I'll tell you that, since we were recording, and then we recorded a week before Christmas, you know, so you're gone for that, and then everything that comes along with mixing, you know, having to stay up late listening to mixes and notes, and then the promotion of putting out an EP. It's not like we just drop it off and comes out one day. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, and we were talking about it a couple months ago. Like, what would it take for us to be able to like just drop everything else and Stoneshiver be Stoneshiver and big time or whatever? Like, what would a record company or whatever, what would they have to offer us? And we were thinking about it, and like James and I were making a list, and we're like, well, that looks impossible. no one's gonna offer that right out the gate. So, looking at that and being able to see that and like accept that, and just be like, you know what, it's cool, man. I'm having way more fun how we're doing things now than I did when we were playing 3 gigs a week.
Yeah,
with the intent of being mainstream.
We're having way, and I think the music that we're producing and the shows that we're doing are just, it just seems so much more meaningful, like just to us. You know what I mean?
And it's also because we've had such a good response from our fans that they want to keep supporting us. So that's probably our only pressure point right there. Is just we want to keep doing new music because there's people out there that still want to listen to it. Yeah.
And they're the reason we can keep it going financially, because being in a band costs money. You know what I mean? There's no easy way around that. And so the shows that we do, that's the reason we're able to put out EPs and go and record at top of the line recording studios and put out EPs. People think that putting your music on the internet's free, and it's not at all. When you put it on platforms, everything costs money. So they're the reason we're able to keep doing it. Those people that come to our show twice a year in Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of your kids have a chance of going to college, or have you spent that money on the band?
No. See, we've been really fortunate with being able to not, for the most part, do out-of-pocket stuff for the band.
Yeah.
So it pays for itself, which is huge and a blessing.
It's pretty self-sustaining.
Yeah.
For the most
But I mean,
part.
personal gear, we're always going to spend our own money on our stuff, because I would have a drum set regardless if I was in the band or not.
I was going to make a joke, like, you guys tell me off camera here, how do you do that? Because I'm not doing that lesson right. But actually, I think it would be a valuable lesson. Like, how, for any bands, any musicians who's listening right now, how the hell have the 4 of you guys managed to do what you've been doing? Because it's like every year you put out an EP, apparently, and you're doing music videos. You're doing promotions, advertising. You managed to pull all this off, and it's not really coming out of pocket. So for me, I mean, that sounds astonishing, because everything in this room has come out of my pocket.
Right.
How, as a band, and I would consider that successful.
Sure,
okay,
yeah.
you're not huge mainstream, but you haven't had to technically, or in a way, you haven't had to pay for it. You get to have fun.
Right.
So how, and keep putting out quality stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the keys to success for that for bands?
To be honest, it's different now when bands are starting compared. See, we were lucky when we came back. We already kind of had a fan base, so we didn't have to go out there in the trenches for very long. Our first gig back was with Alien Ant Farm, which helped us attract new fans. But starting now, I don't know how. I would say this, and this goes back to the promoter versus venue versus all that talk you had.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an opportunity to jump on a show and sell 30 tickets and make a percentage of the tickets, and you can play in front of 300 people, do that. Don't go to a bar on a Thursday night and because they're offering you a $50 guarantee where you don't have to sell tickets, where you're going to play in front of the 10 regulars that are there.
Yeah.
Do a little work, sell the 30 tickets, make an okay amount of money, because you're going to go and play with 300 people with some other bands that brought those people, but you're going to attract maybe 10, maybe 20 of those people to follow you on Twitter or buy your CD at that show.
So pay to play is okay if you're picking your shots.
If you're starting out, you have to. It's not pay to play. You're working to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're making some money.
Yeah.
This notion, every promoter in Fresno that we've worked with gives bands cuts. So it's not like they're just hoarding all the money. A lot of bands that are starting out don't understand the cost that goes into throwing a show. We throw our own shows. There's costs involved. You pay the venue, you pay lighting, you pay for the tickets that you're selling. It's 10 cents a ticket, but it's still a cost. You're paying for the advertising, pay for the promotion. That commercial we put together, that was time Jesse took out of his day to put that together, and we're including the bands on it, where that platform, thousands of people are going to see that commercial on the internet. And all we're asking you to do is sell 30 tickets. I mean, to me, that's not that bad of a deal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And most bands are cool with it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's about doing your hard work to, and that transfers over, and you build on all that,
right?
And eventually, we're and it's not like we make enough money to record our EP off of one show or anything like that.
That's a year's worth of work.
Yeah, it's a whole year, and then we go in and we we build up all this money and then we blow it all in one weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
It feels good.
yeah.
But it's not in Vegas is where we're blowing the
Yeah,
money. We're
yeah.
blowing it at a recording studio in
Yes.
Bakersfield.
and then you turn around and it's there's no money in our war chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to go and make some more money, so let's go do some shows. Let's run a special on some of our merch. Let's whatever we can do to just keep things cycling through, and yeah.
And I will say that at the very core of things is the chemistry that we've developed as individuals, me, Jesse, Phil, James, and we've become like best friends at some, to some regard. And I think that's kind of like the core of things. If you're able to have that chemistry among your bandmates, that will keep you together and continue to work together. I think that's kind of at the core of our success.
Yeah.
if you wanna-
And none of us expect that we're going to be making any money.
Exactly.
Individually, because we're all there to be with each other, to play music for people together, and none of us expect to walk. I mean, I think the last time we got paid out for a show was like 10 years ago. And we played, what was it, Porky's?
Yeah. I mean, we could get paid out, but we just wouldn't have the cool things we have. We wouldn't have the cool merch, and we wouldn't have an EP every year. So.
And the only reason we got paid out is because we made a lot more money than we thought. And we were like, you know what? Let's just split this up.
Well,
that
yeah.
was forever ago,
But you play a gig and you get $50, split 4 ways. You're getting a 6-pack of something, right?
Yeah.
Right,
But $50, it starts chipping away at a greater goal.
For sure.
But that's another thing that's hard. A lot of bands don't have that brotherhood, or they bring in the new guitarist. Well, this guy isn't putting in the work, so he's not going to be part of our bank. And there's a lot of those elements that go back and forth. There's something I've always wanted to do, and taking the opportunity here with you guys, because we were talking about your past, the bands, and some awesome stuff about. You don't get this so much with the mainstream bands. You can do the VH1 Behind the Story, and hear about what other famous band they were in previously. You can do the Megadeth story or something like that. But in the Valley here, when you got the baby bands as they're growing and starting, you do have quite an ancestral relationship with so many musicians in town, and it's just going down the lineup up from the very beginning for you guys to the end of the round 1 of Stoneshiver. If you guys could hit me up with that lineup, how have you all intermingled with each other?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, when James and I started playing together, Teddy, I don't even know if he goes by Teddy, but I know he was playing with It'll Grow Back for a while, right?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, he was playing drums with us at the time, and that lasted super short. I think like two rehearsals or whatever, and then we kind of just went in a different direction. But yeah, we played together, and then eventually our bass player that we were playing with at the time, he kind of left the scene altogether and hasn't really ever come back. But that's when we brought Jocko along, and we were in a band called Jimmy Rig, and we played Fresno and whatever. I mean, I was young. I was like,
I remember auditioning for the band.
Yeah.
In fact.
Were you a part of something before you joined?
The greatest bass player ever auditions for a garage band.
Well, when I moved to the Valley back in 1999, no reference to somebody, and I was only playing for the Really college jazz band, and that's how I actually met James. He was playing drums for that same band, and became very good friends after that. And several months after, maybe towards the end of that semester, that's when he approached me to join Jimmy Rig.
Yeah.
But before that, when I was living near Las Vegas, I was in one cover band, and also the jazz band in high school. So I was doing those at the same time. After I graduated, the band decimated. I decided to move out here. So my track record on that regard isn't really extensive, because I mean, as soon as I came into the Valley, I joined these guys with Jimmy Rig.
So you're doing Jimmy Rig right now with Jesse. And Philip, where are you at?
I'm doing a band called Lissus in Kingsburg, and we would play shows with Jimmy Rig.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys just shared stages as a lineup.
As
sure.
teenagers.
It was Selma versus Kingsburg type
they were
of rivalry.
It felt like they were the Kingsburg the band from Kingsburg High, and we were the band from
I like
Selma
how you diminish
High.
him real quick.
No, I mean, but we were the band from
Yeah.
Selma High, and there were other bands and stuff too, but we were like the only two bands that were
we
like.
started throwing shows when we were
started
16 years
yeah.
old at TW Hall in Kingsburg,
Yeah.
with the owner. I worked at the supermarket, and basically they just looked the other way because you had to have all this insurance, you had to rent the place.
Yeah.
They just let us have it on a Friday night, and we had like 100 people there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like teenagers throwing shows.
We had rented a hall called the Unger Hall in Selma for a big show. We had like 5 or 6 bands or something play, and we were like, okay, well, how much does it cost? What are the rules? Blah blah blah. And I was friends with the mayor at the time. He's like, well, here's the key, here's the code.
Don't get
Just
hurt.
don't have any drinking or anything.
It would never
But,
happen. today.
Never
you know,
happen
and,
now.
and
Yeah.
then they just let us have it. They had let us have the run of that place.
No questions asked.
Yeah, at all. And man, but we rocked it, dude. And those are some fun shows. But
Now, was James in this at all, or was he still just
He's
in
in
the
he
Jimmy
was
show?
in Jimmy Rig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So James is a whole. James, you, and Jocko are together. Now,
Yeah.
at what point did Jimmy Rig move forward to either another band or into the Stoneshiver life and Philip's life? How did that enter in?
Well, we started we were starting to kind of fall apart. Like I was getting ready to graduate high school. So.
Yeah, real life is coming. Yeah.
And we tried for a little while. We were playing under the name One Side Red, and that lasted for a couple months, and it finally just kind of fizzled out. And
It came about to like having to change the name from Jimmy Rig to something a little more professional sounding, like One Side Red, and I think that's kind of like what kind of changed the whole dynamic of the whole band, and then we decimated after that.
And so then eventually, so that kind of broke up, and another talent show was coming up, and my buddies wanted to play this 311 song, and so the two guys were rapping, and I was playing guitar. We had another guy playing bass, and then we had our choir director playing drums, and so we played this song, and it was a lot of fun. But then after that, I was talking with those guys, and I was like, hey, the two singers, I was like, we should get another gig, whatever. And we played at like the sober grad night at the school, and did a couple different things. And James actually came and played drums for that night. And after that, we were playing with the bass player from
Lissus?
Yeah.
So he came in. The Lissus from the bass player from Lissus, Prison Bitch from the KRZR days.
Yeah.
He was on Rick Rodham's show.
Temo.
But he came in. He was playing bass, and we were just jamming
Is
out.
he the one that suggested I go play with you guys?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
we went floating, and we were all nervous to ask Phil if he was going to come play drums, if he could come play drums.
Across the
And
city line.
we were floating down the river, and we just said, "Hey, you want to play drums?" And he's like, "Yeah, that should be cool, man."
So stupid.
So that the Selma Kingsburg rivalry kind of died
Yeah.
out right after that.
And Temo was obviously he was from Kingsbury and everything too, and he was playing with him. But
So that was still One Side Red.
no, that was we were called Good Habit at that point.
Okay.
So
And we should say that the singers of that band, Nick and Caleb, Nick still to this day just jammed with us on 311 Day when we had a show at Cellar Door last month. He got on stage and we did a throwback like 311 set. It was pretty cool.
Yep.
All right. So now the life that you guys are all together is Good Habit.
Yep.
So where does Stoneshiver come apart or come to play?
Yeah, well, okay, so we had eventually asked Jocko to come and play, and Timo went on his way. And so it was the three of us, and we had the two singers. And like I said earlier, Nick was talking about just the other day, he's like, I just couldn't think of anything to write. And I was like, Mom doesn't
It's your
understand
one
me.
job.
Yeah. Why don't you ever ask me about my day, Dad? Just stuff like that. And
But that was the early inception of Stoneshiver, us three being able to, because we would be there by ourselves all the time because the guys would never show up.
Mm-hmm.
So we would start writing our own music, and that was the first version of Stoneshiver writing together.
yeah.
And then
And then it got to the point where we were just like, you know what? It'd be great to have another guitarist in on this. And we were actually practicing out at James's house at the time still. And so we're just like, hey, we're already here. You want to come jam out with us? And
yeah, so that place we still rehearse today is the place they started rehearsing in when he was like 14 years old or something, which is really cool.
So
there's a lot of history in that room.
So that kind of brings you guys to the beginning of Stoneshiver.
Yeah.
Yep.
tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about what happened after round 1 of Stoneshiver. We still have This Planet Prelude to talk about.
Sure.
And, of course, the big show coming up,
Yes.
April 28th at Strummers. Your guys' album release. That's all going down here. The hashtag DDP Live, brought to you, of course, by Riley's Brewing. We'll be right back. Here, the hashtag DDP Live in the Longbox.FM studios, brought to you as always by Riley's Brewing. So where we left off, we went through the timelines of the band, something I've always kind of wanted to do, and I hope for our listeners that turned out looking nice. But we have now Stoneshiver, the end of first round. Now the four of you guys as a band, sometime 2006, 7,
2007,
2008.
Yeah.
Okay, so it came to an end.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, we don't need to get too deep on that, but it did come to an end, and I'm guessing it didn't come to an end in a way that you guys wanted it to. It just stopped.
Just ran its course at that time, pretty much.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of in much darker places in our life at that point, and I feel like Stoneshiver was kind of like almost like a little bit of a cancer that was just putting us all in weird mental states. You know, I don't think Jocko was there because he's always cool, but
thank you. Matter of fact, that was the year my son was born.
Was it? Okay.
Yes.
Going on too.
Yeah, we had the last show the week after he was born, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But we had finished our second album, and just everything was coming to a head, and I wanted out, you know, and so we just kind of split up. And I took a year off of not doing anything, and then as soon as a year hit, I was just like, I gotta do something, you know.
So 2008, 2009, we're going to come back to this time, but at that point, after your year off, did you do This Planet Prelude?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was your project, and did you guys carry on with something else?
I moved to Bakersfield for a while. And
wow, this breakup was pretty rough.
It was.
Yeah, no, I moved down there, and I started a band down there called Lotus Vale, which actually, we had a keyboard player in Stoneshiver towards the end named Kevin, and he moved to Bakersfield just randomly too, and we hooked up, and he was a bass player in that band Lotus Vale down there. And we started playing shows in Fresno because that's where all the connections I had were. And we actually would play shows with This Planet Prelude, with the Starline, which is Strummers now, Ty Palms, and some other places. So.
Yeah.
And they borrowed my bass amp at one of those shows too.
It's starting to sound like The Matrix.
Right.
This has happened now 6 times over,
Yeah.
And then This Planet Prelude stopped, and then me and Jocko hooked up with the brothers from West Howard, who are still playing now. They're on our show on the April 28th. And we started a band called No Cause for Alarm. And we would keep playing, and James and Jesse would come to shows every so often. But during this whole time, though, that we were broken up, we would still get show offers from promoters for Stoneshiver.
Yeah.
So that was really weird.
Coming back? When's Stoneshiver coming back?
And I would never really take it to the guys unless it was really cool. And a couple times we almost did like shows, but they never panned out. And then finally one offer was really, really cool to do, and it had been a long time since we had played. And that was in February of 2015. And that's when... we decided
well,
to
we
play.
Played a couple shows together in
Yeah,
between. There was like a reunion. There was because we never had a real farewell show because we had our CD release party and then like we broke up the next week.
Yeah.
And that was just because, well, we need to get this thing done and put it in people's hands.
Yeah.
And so that's how that worked. But yeah, I mean, we had, so.
Well, then, this is kind of where I was going to go then. As bands, you know, when we talked about inspirations earlier, and you guys were talking more musical. When it comes to arts, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, I believe a lot of arts, a lot of drive and direction for wanting to do something creative comes from pain, or comes from something emotional that's not always the happiest world. It's coming from something like you're the loser in high school no one cared about, and this is your outlet to get out there, but you write dark memories because that's what you are you guys coming from that type of background?
Not the loser part, but
well, I was just talking about me, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Christian. I'm a firm believer, and a lot of times when you're trying to live out that kind of life, you mess up a lot, and like you're trying to live one way and you decide to do something different, and you return back to that. And a lot of like the first album and stuff was just about that kind of struggle of like who am I in the midst of what the Bible tells me I'm supposed to be, and trying to find out what the freedom of Christ, how that plays out in real life and with who you're supposed to be, and expanding on that. That was kind of the first album, and the second album got super dark after my daughter died, and that just everything got super cynical, and there was a lot of anger in that.
Was this still 2007, 2008 time?
She died in 2006.
Okay.
So she was 6 months old, and so she passed away. So like that was right around the time that we were writing the second album, and so it really worked its way into that, as you could imagine, and so that's where all that pent up anger is. There's a lot of music on that if you look at it through that lens, and the poetry behind some of the lyrics and stuff, you see the struggle of trying to find, okay, what does life look like after something that tragic happens, and that's kind of what happened, and that was the big storm that led to us taking that break, because there was just so much anger and so much hurt, and some of us were just making stupid choices, and that's what led to it. And that's why I say like we were in a much darker place, and because like Jocko said, we're like best friends. I mean, these guys were all in my wedding party, and I was in his, and so all that affected all of us in different ways, and so it went from there. And then even still, like, take the stage, and like there's in the music when you're listening to it, like on Zombie House, the whole idea behind that song is like, I wish I was a better man. I need to tear myself down and build myself up to be something better than I am. And I'm picking up the pieces, the good things of who we are, and trying to focus on those instead of the bad stuff. And so I think that's where a lot of the music comes from. And even on this new EP, it starts off with Radio, which is a song that was on our second album, but we wanted to record it again at a higher quality. And that song's all completely, it's a love song written to my wife about what it was like losing our child. And so you look at all that, like there's this constant theme of like trying to be who we want to be, as opposed to being what our decisions make us. If that makes sense.
Character development
right there. That's the name of the EP.
Yep.
So there's definitely a running theme of like, man, life is hard, and we make it harder than it needs to be.
It sounds like a lot of you guys, there was, come 2008, obviously the band broke down. You took your time off. You did this Planet Prelude, which also broke up. And you guys were all kind of doing things. Obviously, they didn't work out because you're no longer in them. You're now doing Stoneshiver. A lot of times, and I know this personally for myself, I know a lot of people. I think any artist has to have this, where you lose the drive, where you lose, like you've been beaten down enough.
Yeah.
It's just too hard. You don't want to do it anymore. It sucks. Screw this.
Yeah.
What did it take for each of you guys? What was that motivating factor, that the drive to get you guys back up on, to try to get back up on the saddle again, whether together as Stoneshiver or leading the direction towards that?
Well, that one show that we played, the Coming Back show, there was never any talk about keeping going, but it was such a good show. We sat down and thought, what would it take to do it again? And we decided fewer shows, and then another year had went by before we started writing new music. And then we were like, kind of nervous, like how's the new music going to sound after all this time. And Take the Stage was great, and it was a precursor to this latest EP, Character Development, where it's kind of like in my eyes, we reached the pinnacle in songwriting, individually and as a band. And then Jesse, of course, his lyrics and his structures of the songs. So the way the EP ends, the character development with Drifter, you couldn't pick a more perfect song, I think, for the story of Stoneshiver to this point, in my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jocko.
Well, yeah, keep in mind, though, we didn't start writing new music right away as soon as we got back together. I don't know if collectively we were thinking the same thing, that we didn't give our second album its respect, work into it, playing the music. So, and I was kind of wondering, well, are we going to probably start writing new material? And so that was kind of in the back of my head. Well, we reunited and so and so. Although prior to the reunion, I was actually in another band myself too, an instrumental rock band called Code 3. Of course, no lyrics, just playing. That was my thing. But I still miss the drive that we had when I was Stoneshiver, and fortunately we did get back together. The response that we received from that one show when we reunited, it was tremendous. I mean, that was kind of like the kick, the push that we needed to keep on going.
And the thing was, we still, every Christmas we had a Stoneshiver family Christmas.
That's right.
And so we'd get together with our respectable significant others and our kids, and we'd either go out to eat or we'd eat at someone's house. So we were always staying good friends. And I think the reality of it was when we played and we had such a good response. And we enjoyed it so much, and we all looked at each other and we were like, okay, well, all the reasons that we took a break in the first place are all kind of moot now. Like we're all in a much better place.
So wait a minute, Christmas brought you guys together.
It was a Christmas miracle. Yeah. Boy, buy me the fattest goose. It was that kind of a thing. But so we still stayed friends and we were hanging out all the time anyway. And
well, I remember being at a New Year's party before the show had been announced that we were going to play, and Nick, who was in Good Habit, still a good friend, he was at that party. I remember showing him my phone the flyer that wasn't out yet, and he was like, gave me a big old hug without saying anything. He's like, finally, because he had moved away and he had never really heard Stoneshiver towards the end. So he was excited he was going to get to hear us again. And yeah, he's our friend, and like my brother lived in New Mexico. Of course, he was stoked about it, and the people that had been there. But it was cool seeing the new people and the other people that we had no clue cared about us that were at that show, so. Yeah.
Well, then, you guys got back together and you started banging out music babies. So now we get to where we're at now, today.
Yes.
Stoneshiver, you guys released an album last year and then decided that wasn't enough and you just hoard out and did another album. Character Development, the EP, and you guys are releasing it the
April
21st? April 21st. Yeah, I remember some stuff.
There you go.
And, of course, you're doing the big show, April 28th, and it's going to be you guys, Call Me James, Werebear, West Howard. Not a band there to skip out on. Mm-hmm. Live City Music, you can go get the tickets. What do you guys have planned, to sell it right for the listeners? If all this hasn't done enough,
right? Well, this is what I'll say. Going back to the beginning, we're talking about our shows and what excites us at shows. If you've never been to a Stoneshiver show, and you might have heard our name through various channels, and okay, well, they're just a Fresno band. Come to a show because we want you to experience what people that come to our shows experience. It's fun. It's not just about four bands playing on a stage. It's an interactive show, and people have fun when they come to our shows.
Yeah, and we play a much longer set when we do this kind of show too, so we get to really craft the set list in a way that it's not like we got to go. We're playing somewhere for 30 minutes and we got to pick out our 6 best songs and just try to make them work. We go and we grab old songs. They're like, what, this song would fit great right here, and we haven't played it in 2.5 years. But people will love it. I mean, if they're fans, I
one
assume
of the songs
they'll love it.
we haven't played in 10 years is going to be really cool.
Yeah, and but to talk about other special stuff that's going on for this album, we actually had my older brother Wiley. He lives up in the Roseville, Sacramento area. He actually came in and did some orchestration and composition stuff for some of the tracks on this album. And I was talking to him, I'm like, hey, you want to come down and play at the EP release? And he said, sure. So we're pulling out, some old songs that have the keyboards on them from the Kevin days, and that we haven't been able to do for a while, and so that's going to be fun in and of itself. Is just you're going to get a different Stoneshiver experience than you've had in recent years.
Yeah.
So there will be surprises at this show, needless to say. Much of which we can really talk about because we're still kind of in the...
We want to keep it a surprise.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
And we haven't planned anything yet because we're still more than 48 hours away. So
I see how you guys do.
Yeah.
Let's one thing real quick, and we'll touch on it again. We're going to take a break. We find you guys. What social medias and websites and the such do you guys use?
You find all of them: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our music is all on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, and Character Development will be available April 21st on all of those platforms. And yeah, it's going to be great.
When are we going to get a Snapchat account?
I just got one. Dirty Dowdy, by the way. Add me. Maybe I'll play into that for giveaways to see the show.
There you go.
Okay, all right. I'll figure out how to do Snapchat, and you guys get a chance to go see the show for free. Which by the way, I'm excited because I don't think I've ever actually seen you guys. There's always been some. Yeah, I've been as many shows of your guys as James has been to mine.
Dang
it's
James.
funny because I've seen you at so many shows.
I know.
I didn't realize I go see that many shows.
Yeah, see, no, but I don't go out that often, so you've probably seen me at every random time that I've gone out, which means you do go to a lot of things. So we're just that in sync, man. Our periods are on the same timeline.
The moon.
But you guys got me involved now. I believe that movie podcast is also getting in the mix
Under the Longbox umbrella.
My umbrella is big, and then of course Artourage is a part of this too.
They're helping us facilitate things.
Well, you guys have a new music video now, right?
We do.
Yes.
I think which Fanboy?
Yeah.
We're going to give that a shot here. We're going to take a break. Watch that. Wet your whistle for what's coming up on the 28th. We got a little fun game we're going to be playing here, and then we'll finish off the show with my version of the Tardies here. It's the hashtag DDP Live here on Longbox.FM.
Complicate this. I tell myself every day.
Man, I like that. It's 90s feel to it with the the chorus going like into the minor chords and stuff. I love that 90s grunge sound. Totally had that for me.
I thought for a second there was going to be like a really big hook that came in, and the hook didn't really come in. I was a little disappointed. I wanted like a big hook. I liked the beginning part of the song. I thought it was had a good sound to it, and then I was like, I'm often like that though. Like I can kind of feel the okay, now the hook's gonna come, and then it didn't really come. So
the guitar tone was excellent.
Yes,
like, you can distinguish like whatever chords he's playing, and a little bit of a sinister twist to the music. That is good.
The music was fun. Like it reminded me of just a little like early 2000s, mid 2000s, like just some of the alt rock that was coming out at the time. But the actual and their album cover looks like it too. I like the animation on it.
Right, kind of like a la Primus with the stop motion,
or even just like you're running DOS, you're running Paint. You know what I mean?
That feel remember that movie 10 Things I Hate About You, where it had a lot of those bands featured with the front woman? Reminds me kind of that whole vein. Pretty cool.
It sounded cool.
Yes.
I don't know.
Very pop-ish,
Very pop-ish.
I think Sci-Fi Caper is a fun band. It's a little, like for my personal tastes, a little garagey. Like I often always want to hear more of the vocals and not get drowned out by everything, but I understand that's the style of music. But yeah, I'm like, give me a little more of that. Give me a little more of that vocals. Showcase your vocal skills. But I like the music. Whenever I hear stuff like that, though, I always think that. But I do understand that's sort of what they're doing.
Oh man, I bet she's cute. Like this short little thing with the red hair. I can already picture her.
I wasn't picturing the red hair because I was picturing like a little Japanese girl dancing around on stage.
Right. So black hair,
like Baby Metal or something, but
right.
A little more low key.
Yes, but yeah, she sounds cute.
Yeah, she sounds cute.
I bet she is.
That's the takeaway from this.
Yeah,
right?
That's my takeaway.
Well, she's a musician, so she's already got.
She's single? Wonder.
We'll find out.
Are you waiting for little time left?
DDP Live. We're back in the Longbox.FM studios, brought to you, of course, by Riley's Brewing, and you're checking out our sponsors throughout the show. Now, we've seen the video. We talked some music reviews. We made this an entirely music-related, no politics. That's, I think, a first for me in the last, 8 months. Don't worry, next show I'm going to have plenty to say on politics. Lars, you're in my sights.
Well, thanks for sparing us.
I had a big plan for what I was going to do to start this show, but I spared you guys on that. Plus, it's a birthday. We're all getting all crazy here today, so we don't need to go
25.
Yeah, 25. Yes, I'm turned 25. Yeah. Okay,
you're so young.
So, guys, thanks again for being here. We'll have to have you guys back again, but with
next
James.
time we're just going to send James by himself.
It'll be no, you guys don't walk in unless he's here. It's got to be a guarantee. We'll be like, we had Stoneshiver tonight, but he refused to show, so F that. We're going to talk to my cat, and that'll be the end of that. James, can't wait to see you on the 28th. He's gonna hate me. So one last time, final thing. How do we find you guys? All the info on Stoneshiver. Anything else you guys want to say?
Real quick, I want to plug 777 Recording Studios in Bakersfield, where we recorded this latest EP, Character Development. Lotus Vale and This Planet Prelude recorded with the engineer named Parisi at that time, had E Street Studios in downtown Bakersfield, but he has the most beautiful recording studios I've ever seen. I haven't been to a lot, but I've seen pictures of other ones. Musical recording studio.
Okay, I'll take that.
Chris, this place is amazing, man. Like they have a live room, a drum room. I mean, just so many different cool things. And the beauty is the guy knows how to work the stuff. You know, super cool guy. So if you're a musician, if you're a musician and are remotely interested in recording, look up 777. It's in the East Hills of Bakersfield. It's not even in the city. It's out there in the middle of nowhere. There's cool vibes. It's just awesome.
But you can get pizza delivered.
You can get pizza. We had pizza delivered.
Yes. I wasn't sure, but they did.
Yeah. But yeah, I just want to give that quick plug. So
yeah, for sure.
But find us Facebook,
Stoneshiver,
MySpace.
Just Google Stoneshiver and you'll find.
You know how to work the internet. It's fine.
At this point, I feel stupid saying no. You can. All you got to do is type in the name.
Right,
You'll get it. Right?
And if your name doesn't pop up, then you either picked a terrible name as a band, or you're not doing enough online.
Yeah.
If all this fails, hashtag Jocko Tuesday. That should find you there.
Now that is something that came from the old show. I feel very proud to know that came from us.
So am I.
And it's still a thing. So. I think when you came to the door today, I said Jocko Saturday.
Dude, it's still a thing on our shows, man. That stuff still gets yelled at him.
Great. Well, at least I've done something for
thanks,
you guys.
Chris.
Yeah. We well, hopefully, as long as I can figure it out, we will have 4K 360 virtual reality video of the show that you guys are doing on the 28th. So you're gonna be able to check that out, and I might get recordings of everybody else too that night. Cool. It'll be one hell of a show. I mean, you guys tag me. I guess this is a way to get me out to your show, is you force me to do stuff there.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Will you come see us if we let you host it?
It's a Friday night with 4 awesome local bands for $10. Why would you not want to come out?
Have you not known who I am? I'm a hermit, dude.
No, I'm talking about other people.
Oh, yeah, other people, they're stupid. They should be out there. All right, guys, thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks for having us, man.
Looking forward to the big show. And that's it. This is Dowdy saying for my crew, Kyle here, everybody Stoneshiver, and the girls are outside working and getting the Club 64 ready for tonight. Saying word.
See ya. Word.
Watching #DDP Live on Longbox.FM. The opinions expressed on #DDP Live aren't necessarily those of staff, management, or sponsors of Longbox.FM. If you have been offended in any way during this presentation, you should have turned it off long ago. #DDP Live is a presentation of Longbox.FM.